In the rural Visayan countryside, a woman lies sleeping in a thatched roof house. Above her, a wet, narrow tongue pushes silently through a gap in the woven leaves. It reaches her belly, seeking the child inside. And outside, standing perfectly still in the dark underbrush, is the lower half of a severed human torso, waiting. In the Philippines, this creature dictates daily life. It is the reason grandmothers order children inside before dusk. It dictates why laundry is never left on the clothesline overnight, and why garlic hangs in the windows of certain provinces. We call it the Aswang. But that name describes an entire category of evil, a shape-shifting, flesh-eating, baby-hunting family of horrors that has survived in the archipelago for 5 centuries. On the island of Panay, the province of Capiz carries the weight of this mythology. The stigma is so heavy that local businesses have physically relocated to escape it. Residents traveling to Manila regularly lie about their hometown to avoid the immediate suspicion of their peers. The fear is deeply rooted. A monster becomes truly terrifying when belief in it causes measurable economic and social damage to a community today. Long before Spanish galleons reached the archipelago, the living and the spirit world negotiated constantly. The boundary between them was a porous membrane, managed by spiritual intermediaries and healers known as the Babaylan. The people already recognized that hungry spirits haunted in the dark. As ancient sea trade flourished with the Srivijaya and Majapahit empires, they adopted the Sanskrit word asura, meaning demon. Over time, that word evolved into Aswang. What separates the Aswang from almost any other monster in world folklore is its biological diversity. It manifests in 5 distinct forms. The first is the vampire. Hiding in plain sight, she marries into a village and slowly drains her own husband night by night, until he dies of what appears to be severe anemia. The second is the Manananggal, a viscera-sucker. At nightfall, it tears its upper body from its waist, sprouts bat-like wings, and takes to the sky to feed on unborn children. Then there is the ghoul, which devours buried corpses and replaces the missing bodies with replicas carved from banana trunks. And an Nankulam, a witch who destroys lives from afar by sending illness and madness through dark rituals. Finally, the were-dog. Anthropologists note that cultures typically name their shapeshifters after their most dangerous local predators. Europe has the werewolf. India has the were-tiger. The Philippines has this, taking the form of a dog, a pig, or a large black bird. 5 distinct horrors. Despite their varied hunting methods, they operate under a single terrifying umbrella, announced in the dark by one specific sound. Tick, 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 tick. The creature is named after this clicking noise, but the sound relies on a cruel inverse logic. When the clicking is loud, the monster is far away. When the sound fades to silence, it is right above you. The biological reality behind the terror is native wildlife. That clicking is the nocturnal call of large fruit bats and nightjars in the forest canopy. To protect themselves, Filipinos built an intricate, layered defense system. The heavy stone architecture of Spanish Catholicism brought the first layer, introducing holy water, salt, and garlic as colonial repellents. The indigenous animist armor is older. People rely on albulario oil, an herbal remedy said to boil when an aswang approaches, and defensive whips fashioned from the tails of stingrays. Anthropologists even theorize that the sheer volume of Filipino celebrations serves a protective purpose. The cacophony of family reunions and loud social gatherings acts as an acoustic shield against creatures terrified of noise. The people built these physical and auditory barriers to establish control. They interpreted the confusing, hostile noises of the natural world as an active threat and created a rigid system to survive it. In 1975, modern medicine provided a clinical explanation for the centuries of terror. Doctors identified a rare inherited neurological disorder called X-linked Dystonia-Parkinsonism, or XDP. This data heat map shows the extreme geographic isolation of the disorder. Traced to a single ancestor 50 generations ago, 93% of all XDP cases occur on Panay Island, and 63% of those are concentrated entirely within Capiz. The physical symptoms of XDP are agonizing. The disease causes involuntary, severe muscle contortions, uncontrollable tremors, and an involuntary protrusion of the tongue. To a pre-modern observer, the clinical reality was indistinguishable from a nightmare. They watched their neighbors writhe, their bodies twisting and tongues extending, and genuinely believed they were witnessing a human being transform into a monster. The social fallout was devastating. Families hid their sick relatives away in dark rooms out of deep shame. Because the illness went untreated and unseen by doctors, the myth of the monster only grew stronger. Humans require explanations for sudden, unbearable tragedies. When a community faces high infant mortality, stillbirths, or the unexplainable death of a healthy adult, they project those losses onto a tangible enemy. The myth of the Aswang endures as a profound human tragedy. A community projected its deepest fears onto its sickest, most vulnerable neighbors. Centuries later, the medical data reveals that the true horror was never supernatural.